If you watch this entire video, you will know by name the hidden money script running your bank account. You will know where it came from. You will know why it keeps beating your logic. And you will know how to start interrupting it. But if you look away, if you tell yourself this is just another finance video, you will keep mistaking a decades-old survival pattern for your personality. You will keep losing the same financial battles, in slightly different disguises, for the rest of your life. Before we get into the heart of it, please subscribe. A single follow or like pushes me to do more videos about how your brain interacts with money. Ready? Let's dive right into it. Here is something most financial advice never tells you. You have never made a fully adult decision about money. Not one. Every choice you think you made as a grown, capable person was actually made by someone much younger. A version of you that froze in place at a specific age and has been quietly running your bank account ever since. Sit with that for a second. It should feel uncomfortable, because if it is true, the version of you signing leases, negotiating salaries, deciding whether to invest or panic sell is still, in some very real sense, a child, standing in a kitchen, watching two adults argue about a bill, learning lessons about danger that have nothing to do with arithmetic and everything to do with survival. Researchers can name that child. By the end of this video, so can you. Picture this. You are standing in a checkout line, the total comes up, and before you even look at the number, something in your body has already decided how this is going to feel. Your stomach tightens, or you feel a small flush of pride, or you barely notice it at all the way you barely notice breathing. That reaction did not start today. It did not start this year. It started before you could read, before arithmetic, before you even had words for money. It started in a kitchen, or a car, or a quiet conversation you were never supposed to hear. Your spending habits are not primarily a math problem. They are a memory problem, and the memories doing the most damage are the ones you cannot consciously recall at all. Here is the claim, stated plainly. Then we take it apart layer by layer until there is nowhere left for it to hide. The way you handle money right now is, in large part, a coded message from the household you grew up in. Not a metaphor. An actual, traceable, researchable pattern. Once you can read the code, the overspending, the inability to save, the anxiety that shows up the moment your balance gets healthy, all of it starts to make a different kind of sense. Start with the research that broke this open. Financial psychologists Bradley Klontz and Ted Klontz spent years studying something they eventually named money scripts. Unconscious beliefs about money, formed almost entirely in childhood, quietly running in the background of every financial decision an adult makes for the rest of their life. Their research identified 4 dominant patterns: money avoidance, money worship, money status, money vigilance. Almost everyone carries some blend of these. Almost nobody chose them. They were absorbed. The way a child absorbs an accent, simply by being present in a house where money was handled a certain way. This is the smallest piece of the puzzle. It gets bigger from here. Money avoidance looks like discomfort even glancing at a bank balance. A vague belief that money is somehow corrupting. A pattern of giving money away, undercharging, sabotaging success, right at the point it would actually take hold. Klontz traced this most often to households where money was associated with conflict, where a child watched money cause visible pain between the adults around them, and quietly concluded that the safest relationship with money is the most distant one. Money worship is the belief that more money would finally fix the parts of life that feel unresolved, that happiness, respect, and safety are permanently one paycheck away. This often takes root in households defined by scarcity, where a child watched the adults around them struggle visibly and absorbed one powerful lesson: not having enough is the root of every problem. That adult can earn a fortune and still feel, on some level, like they are still that child in that kitchen. Still one bill away from disaster. Money status ties self-worth directly to net worth, possessions, visible markers of success. It frequently traces back to households where love or approval were tied to performance and appearance, where a child learned that being impressive was the price of being valued. The adult version of that child does not necessarily want the expensive car. They need the reaction it produces, because the reaction is the thing that once felt like safety. Money vigilance is the most functional looking of the four scripts. It is also one of the most exhausting to live inside. It looks like careful saving, discomfort with debt, a general unwillingness to spend even when spending is completely reasonable. It often develops where financial unpredictability, a job loss, a sudden bill, a visible scramble, taught a child that vigilance was the only available form of control. The adult carries that vigilance long after the danger has passed. Because the nervous system that built the habit never received the memo that the threat is over. Now picture two people raised under the same roof, same parents, same income, same bills sitting on the same kitchen counter. One grows into a compulsive saver who feels physically ill spending money on anything not strictly necessary. The other grows into a compulsive spender, chasing a feeling that never quite lands. Same house. Two completely different scripts, because it was never really about the money in that house. It was about how each of them interpreted the danger they were watching. One decided the lesson was control. The other decided good things disappear if you do not grab them while you can. Two survival strategies. Same evidence, different conclusions. This is where it gets bigger than money scripts alone, because scripts explain what the pattern looks like. They do not fully explain why it grips you so hard, or why logic alone can never talk you out of it. Psychiatrist John Bowlby developed one of the most influential frameworks in developmental psychology, attachment theory. His research, expanded by psychologist Mary Ainsworth through her famous strange situation experiments, showed that the emotional reliability of a child's early caregivers shapes a template carried into every important relationship for life. Securely attached children who experienced consistent care tend to approach relationships and resources with a baseline sense of trust. Anxiously attached children who experienced inconsistency tend to grip tightly, fear scarcity, struggle to feel secure even when objectively safe. Avoidantly attached children who experienced emotional distance tend to minimize their own needs and distance themselves from dependence on anything, including money. Researchers studying financial behavior have found striking parallels here. People with more anxious attachment patterns report higher financial anxiety, regardless of actual income. People with more avoidant attachment patterns report more financial avoidance, unopened statements, unchecked balances, regardless of how much financial literacy they actually possess. This is not metaphorical. The same wiring that shaped how you bonded with the people who raised you is, in large part, the same wiring evaluating risk every time you check your account. This is the part that should genuinely stop you. You are not bad with money. You are running an emotional security system calibrated before you had any say in the matter, and it is applying its original logic to a completely different category of threat. One layer left, the deepest one, the one that explains why this feels less like a preference and more like a law of physics you cannot break. Developmental psychologist Erik Erikson identified something that happens even earlier than attachment fully forms. He called it the trust versus mistrust stage. It occurs in the first year of life, before memory, before language. An infant whose needs are met reliably develops a basic sense that the world is a place where needs get satisfied. An infant whose needs are met inconsistently develops a basic sense that the world is unpredictable and that vigilance, not trust, is the safer default. This is not a personality trait. It is closer to the operating system your personality was installed on top of. Erikson's framework was never about money, but the resulting orientation toward the world, fundamentally safe versus fundamentally uncertain, becomes the emotional weather underneath every financial decision that infant will eventually make as an adult. This is where everything connects. Money scripts are the visible behavior. Attachment style is the relational template underneath it. Trust versus mistrust, formed before you could recognize your own face in a mirror, is the foundation underneath both. 3 layers, stacked before you turn 2, still fully operational every time you open your banking app right now. The reason you panic the moment your savings start to grow might have nothing to do with discipline. It might be money avoidance, sitting on anxious attachment, sitting on an infancy where needs were met unpredictably. The reason you cannot stop buying things you do not need might have nothing to do with impulse control. It might be money status, absorbed from a house where being impressive was the price of being loved. The reason you check your balance 17 times a day might have nothing to do with anxiety as a trait. It might be money vigilance, inherited from a childhood where unpredictability was the only constant, still running its original program in a life that no longer requires it. None of this is destiny. All of it is information, and information changes what is possible. Here is why this matters right now. Most financial advice treats these patterns as character flaws to discipline away. Save more, spend less, budget better, try harder. That advice fails constantly, not because people lack willpower, because it is aimed at the wrong layer of the problem. You cannot discipline your way out of a script installed before you had conscious memory. Willpower operates at the surface. The script operates in the foundation. You have to see it first, or you fight a war on the wrong floor of the building. This is exactly why the free financial bias checklist exists, not another budgeting tool, a mirror. 10 psychological traps that map directly onto the patterns in this video. The avoidance trap, looking away from bank statements and debt balances because the reality feels too uncomfortable to face directly. The adult echo of a childhood where money meant conflict. The approval trap, making or avoiding financial decisions based on what someone else would think. The adult echo of love that once depended on performance. The restlessness trap, checking your accounts compulsively not to take action but because the anxiety compels you to look. The adult echo of a nervous system still scanning for a danger that ended decades ago. You check the ones that feel uncomfortably familiar. The discomfort is not an accident. It is your own history finally being read correctly. The link is in the description. It takes 2 minutes. It is completely free. You are still standing in that checkout line. The total comes up. And this time for 1 second you have a chance to notice the reaction before it runs you. To ask quietly, whose voice that actually is. Yours, or the kitchen, the car, the conversation you were never supposed to hear, still running its old, outdated script in a life that has long since moved on. The math was never the hard part. The memory was. And now that you can see it, the version of you that has been quietly making your financial decisions since before you could spell your own name finally has some competition. The math was never the hard part. The memory was, and now that you can see it, you finally have a chance to write something new. If this video changed how you see your own spending, drop a comment below. Tell me which money script you recognized in yourself. Subscribe for more breakdowns at the intersection of psychology and money. The financial bias checklist is in the description. Start there, and the next video is already waiting for you.